Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's video, I want to talk about the 3D to 5D shift, fear to freedom. We live in a reality full of control structures, which is full of fear. And the more we live in fear, the less freedom we have. And ultimately, our entire identity, the ego, becomes pure fear. Ego is pure fear, and the soul is pure freedom. But we have forgotten how it feels like to be in touch with our pure essence. It does not live in control structures like we are conditioned to live in. And it's very important to release these control structures even after you become awakened. Because no matter how much you change your outside reality, if you don't change from within, if you don't release the fear, the insecurity from within yourself, it will keep manifesting itself in different forms, in different ways. You can get yourself out of one situation forcefully, but if you don't change yourself from within, it will manifest itself in a different situation. So you're just changing the outside. You're trying to run away from the fear-based control systems, but you are not moving towards the soul freedom, the 5D consciousness. So first of all, you have to become aware that all our lives, throughout our childhood, our adulthood, the control structures are there. The basic meaning of control structure is that other people have power over you, some authority, some figure will have power over you. You don't know what's best for you. That's why someone else will control your life. For example, when we are in the schools, it's our teachers, and they will always have best intentions, but it's all an energetic control structure. And in our schools, we are conditioned to be in pressure and stress, constant exams. So we are being prepared for our job life to be an employee. There we are conditioned to follow the orders of our boss. No matter what he says, we have to obey. Sometimes they can be abusive. The work environment can be toxic. But because you have been trained throughout your school life to endure that, so you do that. But does that make it right? Is there any other paradigm that you can tap into? This is the 3D paradigm, full of fear, full of control. And this is what most of the people live in. But in the 5D consciousness, the more you free yourself from fear and follow your heart's calling, you can tap into a different paradigm where you are connected to your soul and you're following your purpose. When we are living in fear, we are completely disconnected from our purpose. We are always thinking about our ego, our self, because we are always insecure. All fear of the ego is the fear of death of the ego. The identity that we have accumulated throughout our lives, we don't want to lose that. So we do everything in our power to protect that. And collectively, humans escape death through creating a sense of security. If you look at animals, their survival is plain and simple. They're always afraid. They're always looking out for predators. But humans, logically, have created an illusion that they don't have that animalistic part within themselves. The lower three chakras are all about survival. And we never look at survival as it is, which is fear of death. We make it like, I need a home, I need to pay bills, but we never see what's the actual truth, that I don't want to die. This is the greatest fear of ego. And for your soul, from the perspective of your soul, this is a human experience. And both perspectives are true. I'm not saying you don't have to pay bills, but at the same time, you are a spiritual being having a human experience. How will you play in this game of life if you are always afraid? So this is why this experience, this truth should be known, that all fear is a reflection of death of the ego. And the more you see this truth, the more courageous you become in life. Because now you are not afraid of life anymore. You can play with life. You can follow your purpose. You can follow your passion. You can't do that in the control-based structures. So the key to break out of the fear towards freedom is to follow your heart's purpose. Follow what you are here for actually, your soul signature, what your soul was made for. And we all know that we have something within us, but we are afraid to express that. So once you start following that, you start uncovering a completely different way of life. You are tapped into a higher paradigm of 5D consciousness. you're moving towards a better reality. So follow your heart, follow your purpose, what you're here to carry out, and it is not just for you. This is important, that when you're always living for yourself, always worried about your own security, you're living just in the ego, in the lower chakras. When you tap into your heart chakra, you open yourself to the other people. That can only happen when you go beyond the survival consciousness. When you see yourself beyond the animal and realize that you are a divine being. A very good example is that nothing in nature lives for itself. A tree doesn't eat its own food. The river does not drink its own water. So we also can sustain ourselves and help the collective by following our purpose. It doesn't mean you have to sacrifice yourself. It just means that out of self-love, out of self-knowing, self-discovery, you start following your purpose and start helping the collective. And that will create the ripple effect, the snowball effect. And everything will start working out for you. But you can't secure the result first. This is another thing that the ego does. It does everything for the future. That's how we have been conditioned. It doesn't care about the process. That's why people end up doing something they absolutely hate. But in the outcome, they're getting something, a reward. Our soul is completely opposite. When you live a life of purpose, you do things for the process. You do things because you enjoy doing the process. You don't care about the outcome because you don't live in time. You live outside of time. That's 5D consciousness. And the more you start living life moment to moment, you will realize that that is the truth. It's always this now moment, but we are never tapped into it because that's how we are conditioned. So once you start living moment to moment, you do the process, you give your best in the process, and you let everything else in the hands of the universe. You surrender the outcome. And because you are not controlling the outcome, it can come in a massive way. It can give you an outcome which you can't even comprehend because you are not limiting the outcome by your ego. So it is very hard to comprehend from logic, but this is the truth. The more you let go of the outcome, the more the outcome becomes. Quantitatively, if you look at it, let's give an example that from your ego you think the outcome can be only 10, 20. But when you don't think about the outcome, you're so much enjoying the process, the outcome suddenly becomes 100. I'm just giving you an example so that you can understand it logically. So let go of the outcome and enjoy the process. And that can only happen when you let go of the fear. All fear is fear of death. Ego is pure fear. The soul is pure freedom. Once you understand this duality and start integrating that you are also a spiritual being having a human experience, and you start integrating that into your being, and you start expressing that and stop living just from the lower three chakras. When I say this, it doesn't mean that you don't do anything for survival. It means you also know there is a higher dimension to you, and you have to also embody that. Then you become integrated. Then you can know freedom. And you can break out of the 3D structures, the control structures. I hope you enjoyed this video. Much love to you all.